How's it going, everyone? Maurice here from noblecopy.com, and today we're going to be talking about short story cycles. Okay, so a short story cycle, what is it? It is a selling tool, basically. Okay, novels in general, across the board, novels sell 10 times better than any short story collection out there. Well, why? Because the majority of readers don't really care about short story collections. I mean, that's sad, but it's true. People want to lose themselves in a 400-page novel. That's just what they want to do. When publishers, kind of repackage the short story cycle with a different name, like cycle, novel and stories, linked stories, they do it, like I said, as a selling tool, and they do it because they want to make sure that readers out there know that the cycle is similar to a novel. If you're interested in writing a short story cycle, right, I think that you should know how to define it first before you even start. Is your short story cycle revolving around one or two main protagonists? If yes, then you're probably writing a novel. If no, you're probably writing a short story cycle or some type of collection like that. Okay, because novels, they usually have, one main character going through the whole thing, sometimes two, sometimes three. So if your short story cycle has 10, 12, 15 different chapters and they all have, different main protagonists, then you're definitely not writing a novel. The plot, right? Is the plot uniform throughout? I mean, is it just one major plot, like a thriller, like they're trying to, save a city from a disease, or they're trying to save the world from a nuclear bomb or something like that, and there's a subplot in there, but that's the main plot, is they're trying to save the world. Well, that's a novel, right? A short story cycle is going to have many plots, and they're all going to be different. Like I said, if you write, 10, 12, 15 different chapters or stories, all of the plots are going to be different, okay? So that's how you know you're writing a short story cycle. So what are some of the benefits to writing a short story cycle, right? Well, they help writers, especially, newbie writers, they help them to write structure, because structure is extremely difficult when you're writing fiction, right? I mean, you might want to write a like a fragmented novel, or novels that play with time and go back and forth, past, present, and future. The short story cycle helps the writer with that. You kind of learn as you go along. It basically allows the newbie writer to not focus on plot so much as it does help you focus on character, really, because you're beginning and ending with all new characters in every single one. So the short story cycle is more or less more focused on character-driven stories than they are one major plot. So that's how it can help you. It can help you with your character development, the short story cycle. And why do we like short story cycles so much? I'm a fan of them, big time. I like them because they represent like a serial narrative, right? It's kind of like watching a TV show, or even with movies, that have several sequels to them. That's what a short story cycle is. It's not just, like a one and done movie, and then that's it, or a one and done story, that's it. Okay, so what are some of the physical characteristics of a short story cycle? This is very, very important, right? They almost border on non-fiction as opposed to fiction. And hear me out. Sometimes a short story cycle will not only have a title, obviously, but they'll have a subtitle to it as well, just like many non-fiction books. Sometimes they'll even have a table of contents, where they break down chapters, within the first couple pages of the book. And most fiction, they don't have that. Chapters in a short story cycle may typically begin with a character's name. They might begin with time, some type of date or year. The purpose of that is they want to announce to the reader that that story is singular. It exists by itself. So that's how they do it. Another way is through maps and family trees. Now, I know a lot of some fiction does this. Some fantastical fiction may do this if they're building like a huge world. So they'll have a map, they'll have a family tree, but that's very common in a short story cycle. All right, so they have to connect. Now, there are several ways for them to connect. There are several good ways and there's several bad ways that you should stay away from. Okay, so here are the good ways, right? You can connect them by character. That's probably the most common. Okay, for example, you can have one specific character, weave in and out of every story or every other story. They don't have to be there throughout the entire short story cycle, because that would make it a novel. And most times, I've seen it where that main character is just simply spoken of by other characters. They don't even have to physically show up. Another common characteristic to connect a short story cycle is, of course, the setting. They use the same city, the same household, right? The same small village, the same building. It's better to use something that is a small setting, because that realistically makes it easier for the characters to interact with one another. That's not to say that it can't be, an entire country or, like a planet or something like that. But it'll work better storytelling wise if it's a smaller place. Okay, so now what are some things that may not work as well? Okay, that's themes and tone. Now, I've seen some writers claim that they can connect a short story cycle through theme and tone, but I kind of disagree. I think if that's your intentions, then that's kind of bordering more on the short story collection, and that goes against everything that we're talking about, right? If you're going to connect it by theme, then you don't have to have any recurring characters, no recurring setting whatsoever. They can just be, each story can exist on its own, and they can all be about, romance. They can all be about, horror. They can all be about, espionage or something like that. That doesn't really connect them. I don't consider it connecting them. They're connected by theme, but that's really it. That's a collection, in my opinion. And the same thing goes for tone. If your tone is, very literary and very serious, okay, but that's fine, but that doesn't really connect them. Okay, that about does it. So do you agree with me, or do you think I'm completely way off base? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and like. And also don't forget to check out my website, noblecopy.com, for more info about creative writing and journalism. And if you're interested in having your novel edited before you send it out to a literary agent, you can go to noblecopy.com/services to check out more information on that. And one other thing too is, don't forget to check out Amazon.com for my ebook that I wrote about writing suspense. I will leave the link in the description box below. Have a good one.